What's good, everyone? Let me make sure y'all can hear me. Yo, what's good? Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy, rather grown ass man, Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4, the legal, the loyal, the regal, the royal, Ronin Ralph, your master of ceremonies. And let me be the first to say, welcome to another edition of Ralph Reads Raw. And what we're going to do tonight is talk about the new book. But before we do that, I got to give a big shout to the supporters of this channel. That's like near mandatory. It's got to happen. So let me do that real quick. Just give me a couple seconds. I'll be right with you right now. Come on. Open it up. Let's see what we got going on here. All right. And yes, I'm on a little early and stuff because, um, well, I'm a little tired to be honest. I am. I'm falling asleep all over the place, and I'm supposed to begin this program at 2ish. I don't know. I don't know if I can do that, to be honest. But I am excited, however, to read this. Mr. Corey Miller's, aka C Murder's, Death Around the Corner. Now, the last book, the Ralph Reads Raws on those weren't monetized whatsoever. I don't think I'm going to get monetized this way around either. But before anything else, let me just give a big shout to the supporters of the channel: Danielle Cunningham, Doreen Austin, Sherelle Pittman, Estanislava Candona, Goose Jack, Ice Age 19XX, Alasia Ross, Newly OG Birdman, Just Being Kiki, Omar Battle, Deswarn Manuel, Sherelle 5150, Pretty Ricky 22, Desmond Thomas, Jay Bobo, Dariel Carrington, I've Been a Healer, Marcus Valentine, T Hub 415, Kyla Easler, and the entire Easler family. BLE 007, Michael Woodford, Batmaster, Mr. Light, Monster, Anthony Leach, Calm, Nana James, Tama, Mr. Fulltime, Beverly Jones, Brian Latham, Mr. T, and John Logic and Friends. All right. That was that with that. And now for the 1-2 checker. Let me see here. Yep. Boom. 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 1-2 on 2. Got it. Yeah, that's all I need right there, y'all. Shit. Sounds interesting, says Walking 15 Lifer. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do this. All right. Let's go. From multi-platinum rap star C Murder comes his debut novel, a gritty, compelling, and unforgettable story of surviving on the deadly streets of New Orleans. There's a time to go hard and a time to chill. The day the cops took his daddy away for murder. The day the cops took his daddy away for murder, a new emotion gripped 5-year-old Daquan Watson's heart. Hate. It would stay with him as he came up in the Calliope, New Orleans' most notorious drug-infested New Orleans' most notorious drug-infested housing projects, where every brother is a soldier going to war every day. Grandma mama does her best to raise him the right way, but those streets keep calling. Trying to get ahead in such a harsh environment can make your heart turn cold, unless you learn how to listen to your guardian angel. There's a time to take one for the team. Hold on, let me look up the word calliope, hoping I'm saying it right. 1 second. 'Cause I gotta show this the proper respect. Calliope. 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 Okay. Let me say that part again. The day the cops took his daddy away for murder, a new emotion gripped 5-year-old Daquan Watson's heart. Hate. It would stay with him as he came up in the. What was that again? Calliope. It would stay with him as he came up in the Calliope. New Orleans, New Orleans' most notorious drug-infested housing projects, where every brother is a soldier going to war every day. Grandma mama does her best to raise him the right way, but those streets keep calling. Trying to get ahead in such a harsh environment can make your heart turn cold, unless you learn to listen to your guardian angel. There's a time to take one for the team, but the violence at the Calliope, let me make sure I'm saying that right. Calliope. But the violence at the Calliope is nothing compared to what Daquan experiences doing time at Scotland Correctional Center for Youth, watching cats get stabbed over card games, young boys get raped, and racism of the worst kind, even from the black guards. Even from the black guards. A voice inside tells him he'd better learn to use his anger instead of letting it use him. You heard? And a time to think for yourself. From the moment Daquan heard his first blast of hip hop, the music spoke to him, and for him, while his friends, and for him, while his friends are getting their street hustle, while the, while his friends are getting their street hustle cracking, his way with words is leading him in another direction. With a good woman by his side, with a good woman by his side, he's owning up to his responsibilities and building a new future with New Orleans' biggest rap label. But what about his hoping? But what about his homies in the CP3? Will they ever be truly free? Daquan knows his hardened heart will never allow him to become a victim. He can only play. He can only pray it won't allow him to become a predator. Who better than to who better to capture the essence of a true soldier than C. Murder, Blunt, author of Betrayal of a Hustler. Okay. As real as it gets, you can stamp this hood certified. Kashamba Williams. If I cry, his blood will be my tears. Daquan crept up behind the caddy and pulled out his 9. He cocked it back, took a deep breath, and smashed the driver's side window completely, making Black's alarm go crazy. He quickly dropped and rolled under the car, feeling the heat of the transmission on his face. What the fuck? Hey! Black came out of the motel room shouting, clad only in his boxers. The sound of his own breathing was heavy in Daquan's ears, and it felt like his heartbeat was pulsing through the fingers that he had poised on the trigger. He could hear Black's bare feet hitting the pavement, coming closer and closer, until his toes were directly beside Daquan's shoulder. Daquan closed his eyes for a second, then reopened them as he slid his torso from under the car, raised the gun, and fired twice into Black's stomach as he leaned in the car window to see if anything had been taken. The girl, wrapped in a dingy white sheet, was only a few feet away from Black when the shots cracked the silence, and she let out a piercing scream as Black staggered back. Daquan came out from under the car and fired again, hitting Black in the chest. As Black fell back on the concrete, Daquan stood over him and hissed, "Charge this to the game, nigga!" Then fired twice into Black's skull, opening it up like a cracked egg. Advanced praise for death around the corner. Just like his music, C. Miller paints a picture with words and rhythm that'll have you nodding your head from cover to cover. If you've never experienced New Orleans, you will after reading Death Around the Corner. Kwame Teague, author of The Adventures of Ghetto Sam and the Glory of My Demise. C. Murder keeps it true his first time out the gate. Kwan, best-selling author of Gangster. Death Around the Corner, a novel by C. Murder. Acknowledgements. I dedicate this book to my lovely daughters, Chelsea, Courtney, and Chanel Miller. They inspired me to keep moving and never give up. To my grandmother, Big Mama, who raised me and has always been in my corner. And to my brother, Kevin Miller, may he rest in peace. Special thanks to my family for all their help and support. Janelle, Kelly, and Dee for their typing skills. Bree, Barbara, Lupe, Aish, and Rick for all their tireless groundwork. To Rob, Teddy, Mamie, Danielle, Ari, Eric, and the whole Vibe Media Group, thanks for believing. To Stephen, Laurie, and the whole Kensington Publishing team, can't knock your hustle. Much love to my sister Germany, my brother Silk, my nephew Little Kevin, Reverend Best, Moses Montez, moms Toussaint Carnell, Melinda, Ron, and Gay, the whole CP3, Jimmy Watson, G Money, Little One, DJ Spin, Go, Nine Fingers, Young Trump, Irvin, J-Bo, Mac and Renee, Ludacris, Kwame, and LaShonda Teague, Blunt, Picture Man, Shaq, Suave Bob, Will Horton, Hassan, Armand, Kiva, Malika, Marie, Nikita, Sherman, Nooney, Ronnie, Mama Net, Uncle Marvin and Anthony, Aunt Joan and Ray, and the whole fam. Stay true. Most of all, Thanks to everyone that purchases this book and to all my homies on lock. Walk by faith. More to go. Trust me, we're gonna hang out tonight. Chapter 1. Macy, can we go to the fair? Daquan, for the last time, I'll take you to the fair. Now shut the fuck up, boy. Now shut the hell up, boy. Daquan stared at the TV screen, wide-eyed with excitement and anticipation after hearing his mother's confirmation. Never mind her tone or the fact that his last birthday, he never got the big wheel she promised. Still, she was mommy, and her words filled him with happiness. The World's Fair of '84 was the biggest thing he had seen in his life. The commercials showed all the happy faces, shiny gadgets, fun rides, and delicious food, things he never experienced in his 5-year-old world. All he knew was the Magnolia Projects, one of the roughest, most drug-infested housing projects in New Orleans. Magnolia was a world in and of itself. Despite its squalid conditions, there were plenty of other kids and large grassy areas to play every game imaginable. The surrounding recreational parks had basketball hoops for the older cats, but at his age, Thomas Lafont Elementary was Daquan's very own amusement park, complete with monkey bars and seesaws, and located right in the heart of the Nolia. Many a day he had gotten his ass tore up for going to Lafont without Macy's permission. Daquan wasn't a bad child, just a poor one, which meant he had to make do with whatever he had. And when it came to fun, Lafont was all he had. 1 second. But now that the World's Fair was coming, it was like an early Christmas, and Daquan couldn't wait. Yeah! Yeah! He squealed like a mini Little John. I'm going to the fair! He hopped down off of the clean but worn down plastic covered couch. And crossed the living room, entering the kitchen. I hope my daddy can come with us, he said to himself as he opened the refrigerator looking for Kool-Aid. He works too much, he added as an afterthought. His father, Daryl, worked at Gambino's bakery, sometimes pulling a double shift just to keep the bills paid in their 1-bedroom apartment. He wouldn't let Macy work because he was raised believing it was the man's responsibility to provide for his family. But in the era of Reaganomics, it was becoming next to impossible to do that alone. Still, he did the best he could, and Daquan loved him for that. Daquan balanced the half-full pitcher of Kool-Aid between his chin and hands as he carried it to the table. He looked in the refrigerator and could basically figure out what his next meal would be. Inside a pot of leftover red beans and rice, a hard block of commodity cheese, a box of cornflakes, and a box of powdered milk. So he knew it would be red beans and rice, unless his daddy brought home some eggs so Macy could make his favorite scrambled eggs and rice. He looked around for a clean glass or a mayo jar to drink from, but he couldn't find one. So he ran to his parents' bedroom and yelled, "Macy, I need a glass!" "Boy, if you don't step away from my goddamn door." Daquan stepped back from the door. He knew she wasn't in the room alone. Teddy, his father's cousin, was in there, like he was almost every day at this time. He often wondered what they did in there, but since Teddy and Daryl weren't only cousins, they were also friends. Daquan didn't see anything wrong in his 5-year-old mind. He forgot about the Kool-Aid and walked away from the door, ready to take a nap and dream about the upcoming fair. Inside the bedroom, Teddy remained jittery since Daquan had come to the door. "Macy, you know I don't like coming to your house bringing... Macy, you know I don't like coming to your house bringing you this stuff," he told her, sliding his works into a small leather pouch. He was a petty hustler, homely looking and stupid, but Macy depended on him to keep the monkey off her back. As her heroin habit grew, it got harder and harder to hide from Daryl that she was getting high again. Besides, money was right. Money was money. Money was tight, and right about now, the only thing tighter was a pussy, which she had recently started offering Teddy in return for the dope. "Teddy, stop bitching. The boy don't know nothing. He ain't but 5, she replied, feeling the china white slowly coat her mind with that serene nothingness. "I'm feeling good, and this clown's blowing my high," she thought. Eyelids at half staff. Still worried, he asked, "What?" Still worried, he asked, "Why can't we meet somewhere else? Shit. Daquan might say the wrong thing. Man, look. Man, look." His voice trailed off. "Come on, hurry up out of here." "Man, look." "Oh my God, get out of here." And then here comes the train. One second. "Man, look." His voice trailed off. Macy knew how to shut him up. She began to undress, revealing a petite but curvaceous frame. She watched Teddy's eyes filled with lust at her chocolate femininity. "Daryl don't get home till late, and it ain't but 4, she said. "Now, do you want some pussy or not? Because I know a lot of niggas who would love to be in your shoes." He watched her slowly massage her face and breasts, something she did routinely after getting hit with her fix, and it never failed to turn Teddy on. She laid back on the bed and spread her long, dark and spread her she lay back on the bed and spread her long, dark legs invitingly. She was feeling good and she wanted to pay Teddy before her high went down and the reality of her betrayal came raining down on her. At the sight, at the sight of her naked wetness, Teddy's heart, at the sight of her naked wetness, Teddy's heart began to beat a rhythm through his erection. He knew this was wrong. She was Daryl's wife. Daryl was his cousin, but he had never had a woman so beautiful. And if it wasn't for her, and if it wasn't for her addiction, he never would again. You are beautiful, baby. I just can't get enough of you. You are beautiful, baby. I just can't get enough of you, he whispered as he mounted Macy and entered her. Girl, you got some good pussy. This is the best I done had yet. How come you never let me kiss them pretty lips or change positions? She eyed him coldly. Just fuck me. And when you come, just fuck me. And when you come, don't make another noise. My baby is in the other room. Her mind wandered away from the man on top of her to the man she had betrayed. The guilt of knowing how much Daryl loved her made her hate herself for being so weak. Macy was ashamed of her need for the drug that had taken so much from her and always threatened to make more. At her lowest moments, she contemplated suicide. The thought of taking her own life had begun 8 years ago after losing her daughter, Diana, at birth. Macy knew it was because of her drug use during pregnancy, and she vowed to Daryl and herself that she'd stay clean, that she'd stay clean. A promise she couldn't keep. Whenever Macy got high and thought of Diana, the tears would flow constantly and uncontrollably like clockwork. Girl, why are you always fucking? Why are you always crying while we're fucking? Girl, why are you always crying while we're fucking? Teddy always, Teddy asked between humps, but received no answer. Ain't it good to you, baby? Ain't it good to you, baby? His words fell on deaf ears because Macy was in her own world, a world where happiness would never come, where she convinced herself, where she convicted herself a murderer of her own flesh and blood and betrayed her only love. Her thoughts were suddenly interrupted by a slight noise coming from the living room. Was that the door? She asked herself quickly, glancing at the clock. She held her breath, listening intently until she mentally dismissed the sound as either the TV or Daquan. Daryl looked at the stitches in his hand and chuckled to himself lightly as he got off the bus in front of the Nolia. He had been at work washing dishes when he accidentally cut his hand on a knife. Hell of a hell of a way to get the day off, he said to himself. The cut wasn't serious, but it did require stitches. He was sent to Charity Hospital and then allowed to go home for the rest of the and then allowed to go home for the rest of the day. And then allowed to go home for the rest of the day. For the rest of the day. A little family time was a little family time was a welcome idea, being that he worked so hard. Every morning he was up at 4 in order to make the 2-hour bus ride to Metairie. Let me look this up. Oh man, weird words. Metairie. Metairie? Okay, Metairie. Every morning he was up at 4 in order to make the 2 hour bus ride. In order to make the 2 hour bus ride to Metairie, some 30 miles west of New Orleans, where Gambino's Bakery was located. In a car, it would only take 30 minutes, but that was a luxury Daryl could not afford. But that was a luxury Daryl could not afford. Regardless, he wasn't fazed or frustrated by his current situation because at age 25, he already had a plan. He wanted to own his own bakery one day, then build and expand. He had already learned he had already learned he had already learned the proper functioning of the business, so he told himself that with hard work and patience, he knew he'd achieve his dream. Daryl grew up hard. He had even done 3 years as a juvenile at Scotland Correctional Institute in eastern Louisiana, but he vowed himself that he'd get his family out of the Nolia and into a better quality of life. And into a better quality of life. Daryl had already seen what ghetto life had done to his young wife, but he stuck by her in hopes that love could conquer all. He slid his hand into his pocket and winced from the pain of the still tender cut, of the still tender cut, which was nothing compared to the pain he'd soon face inside his own home. He opened the door, entered, and then quietly closed it behind him. This was the sound Macy had heard that put her senses on alert. Cartoons played quietly on the TV as Daquan lay on the couch in a peaceful sleep. Daryl Daryl sat next to Daquan and gently kissed his slumbering son on the forehead. He admired his features, focusing on the thick eyebrows they both shared. The boy had Macy's nose and a mixture of his caramel. One second. The boy had Macy's nose and a mixture of his caramel complexion. The boy had Macy's nose and a mi- the boy had Macy's nose and a mixture of his caramel complexion and a mixture of his caramel complexion and Macy's Hershey hue. His contemplative his contemplative mood was suddenly interrupted by noises coming from the bedroom. There was a thud, and his instincts intensified his hearing, turning the noises into a man's voice and then the unthinkable. The sexual sounds, the sexual sounds of a man being pleased. Before his mind had fully grasped the situation, his body reacted and took the initiative to rush the door. Locked. With all of his 6 foot, 220, 220-pound frame, he coiled his leg and aimed for the right side of the doorknob, kicking the flimsy door of its off of its top hinge. He didn't want to believe his eyes. He wished he didn't have to witness something like this. But what he saw could not be denied. Teddy leapt from between Macy's legs and stared at Daryl with total fear in his eyes. Daryl, man, look. Teddy, Teddy stuttered, but all Daryl could say was, I got cut. The rage inside was building like a runaway locomotive. You fucking bitch! I got cut! He screamed at his wife. He screamed at his wife. He was the only one who knew the full significance of the statement. Macy was frantic, screaming apologies while Teddy tried to cover his shamed nakedness. You dirty bitch! I bled for you, Daryl hissed. Macy looked into her husband's eyes and saw a look she'd never seen before. It was like only a shell was there, his soul totally void. He moved in a zombie-like state as he turned his gaze to the doorless closet space a few feet away. Macy saw him, sensed his intentions, and yelled, No, 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 Daryl! Daryl, I'm sorry! I swear, I'm sorry! But it was too late. Daryl dug through the piled-up clothes and found the shoebox containing the .38 his father had given him. In an instant, the gun was in his hand. Teddy had no room to get out, so when he saw the gun, all he can do was back into the corner. Daryl, I swear to God, man, please, just listen, Teddy pleaded. But Daryl's heart couldn't be reached, nor could his mind comprehend. Teddy released his bowels as Daryl pointed a gun at him, then, without hesitation, began to fire and fire and fire until the revolver was spent and Teddy's chest was riddled. His body jerked violently as each hollow tip impacted on his flesh. Teddy's torso seemed to inflate to twice its size, like a balloon filling with air, then quickly deflated to normal size. His body slid down the wall, lifeless, staring at nothing. Daryl was snapped out of his trance by Macy's screams and Daquan's crying. His son had witnessed it all from the doorway. Daddy, please stop, please. Fucking train. Daddy, please stop, please. I'm scared. At the sound of his son's voice, Daryl dropped the gun and turned to the crying child. Come here, Daddy, Daquan sobbed. Pick me up. Daryl picked up Daquan. Sirens. Daryl picked up Daquan, cradling him in his arms, and walked into the living room. Never once did he look at Macy or acknowledge her whimpers. Daryl, she kept repeating. Daryl, I'm sorry. He sat on the couch with Daquan on his lap. He knew he was on borrowed time. There would be no running for Daryl, no hiding. He was a man raised to be a man. And had nothing that any other man in his position wouldn't do. Now, all that was left were these last few words he had for his son from the deepness of his heart. Baby boy, you know your daddy loves you. I'm sorry about everything you just saw. Daddy didn't mean to scare you. I love you. Don't ever forget that, okay? They were both crying now. Daquan's tears were the tears of a child losing his world, and Daryl's the tears of a man being destroyed. I love you too, Daddy, Daquan answered. Now, they're going to take me away for a long time, so I need you to be a little man and do the right thing. And do the right thing. No, Daddy, we can go away. We can run. Daryl silenced his son. No, a man never runs. You hear me? A man never runs. Those were words Daquan would never forget. Daryl hugged his son tightly and continued, making the most of the little time they had left. I'll always be here for you. I'll write you letters and talk to you on the phone. You can even come see me, okay? It seemed to Daquan's young mind that the police were kicking in the door. It seemed to Daquan's young mind that the police were kicking in the door the very next moment. They rushed in, slamming his father to the ground. Get off my daddy! Daquan yelled with all the manliness he could muster. Calm down, Daquan. I'm okay, Daryl assured him, face down on the floor. But it wasn't okay to Daquan. Macy, shameful and shaken, called Daryl's mother to come get Daquan. He would never see Macy again. The boy sat alone outside amongst throngs of nosy neighbors and flashing police lights. All he could think about was how the cops took his daddy away, and a new emotion sprang into his young heart. All he could think about was how the cops took his daddy away. All he could think about was how the God damn it. All he could think about was how the cops took his daddy away, and a new emotion sprang into his young heart. Hate. It was making him see everything in a different light. Daquan! Daquan looked around and felt relieved to see Grandma Mama coming toward him with a young girl beside her. She was lanky and pretty with a caramel hue, her hair in pigtails. He had never seen a girl before, but she still looked familiar to him. Grandma Mama scooped him up in her arms. Grandma Mama scooped him up in her arms, kissed him, and asked, Are you okay, baby? Damn. All he could do was sob into her shoulder as he as she, all he could do was sob into her shoulder as she cried on his. She had lost a son, but gained a grandson to raise. Daquan looked around for the little girl, but she was gone. Grandma, Mama, who is that girl? What girl, baby? He started to answer, but his attention was drawn to a policeman walking by. Daquan eyed him coldly as Grandma Mama toted the boy away from the place he had always called home, away from a father being taken away, and a mother who was running away. Theirs was a family forever scattered by the winds of change. That was a good first chapter. Let's get the show in the room. I hate you! Chapter 2. I hate you! I hate you for taking my daddy! Daddy, don't go! Please don't go, Daddy! But it's not a police car to put my daddy in. It's a long black car that looks like a station wagon, only bigger. Like when Macy's mama went away and the people came with all the pretty colors and horns and stuff. They were marching down the streets and Macy was crying and said that her mama was getting her wings. The car was like that. The car was like that. And my daddy got into a big wooden box in the back of the car. Where's my daddy going? Then I jump up and chase the car. I'm running because I want to see where are they taking my daddy. But my legs are hurting and I fall. I fall real hard. And when I get up, the car is gone and all the people are gone. And all the people are gone. It's just me. I put my head down on the knee. I put my head down on my knee so no one can see me cry. I felt somebody touch my shoulder and I look up and it's the girl. The girl with Grandma Mama. She was reaching out her hand to me. Daquan, time to get up, baby. He heard Grandma Mama say, bringing him out of the dream. Daquan looked around the tiny bedroom, feeling the morning sun on his face. He rubbed his eyes as he sat up. I'm up, Grandma Mama. Good, she replied, kissing him on the forehead. Because Mama made you a big old breakfast. Go on and wash your face. I got to calm down because the sirens is going crazy. Oh, boy. I got to stop a bit. Cool. How's everyone doing today? Let me see. Tifa. Cool. She says, yeah, man. I'm reading F around the corner. And sorry, folks, I'm going to have to heavily edit this because the word murder will get my shit shut down, unfortunately. So, yeah. Y'all could get all the rawness right now because this is, after all, Ralph Reads Raw. And it's annoying out here. So we're going to be battling all kinds of sounds, neighbors, trains, planes, automobiles, assholes, you name it. I mean, you hear this shit? I mean, come on, seriously. Who likes hearing this shit? And then there goes a train passing by. Shit. It's okay, though. I got merch coming out real soon. And when I do, man, you look out for it. I got dope material. Yo, come on, shut that up, B. Damn. Nobody can possibly like that, bro. That's just some bullshit. And it keeps going. Mad annoying and shit. Ringing all over the fucking hood. Okay. Daquan slid off the edge of the bed in his Incredible Hulk underoos and ran off into the bedroom. He tried the knob, but it was locked. I'm in here, said a woman's voice from inside. Daquan began to hop around doing the pee dance. I gotta go, he urged her. Lisa, is you still in there? Lisa, is you still in there? Grandma Mama yelled from the kitchen. Child, there's 3 other folk in there need to go too now. Moments later, the toilet flushed and Melissa came out of the bathroom. Daquan recognized her as his daddy's older sister, but he didn't stop to say good morning as he pushed past her and closed the door. Dang, say excuse me next time, old man herself, she quipped, heading for her room to get dressed. Once Daquan pissed and washed his face, he followed his nose to the kitchen. The aroma alone had his stomach growling. He found Grandma Mama bent over the stove, finishing up the grits, scrambled eggs, and sausage patties. Daquan stood at the door, unsure of his place in the new surroundings. He studied Grandma Mama, hearing her hum a morning melody. Her flowered robe was slightly soiled, but still vivid in splashes of rose colors. She was a short woman and a little wide. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in the Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in the barn. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in the bu- Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in the bun. Was pulled back in a bun. And when she spoke, her gold tooth winked at you, all warm and friendly. Grandma Mama had a heart of gold, but a fist full of fire at the same time. Daquan always loved to visit her, but now, living with her, he felt awkward. Well, Grandma Mama said without turning to him, you just gonna stand there or you gonna want something to eat? Yes, please, he replied, trying to be on his best behavior, remembering his father's words. She turned to him, wiping her hands on the dish rag. Well, sit down then. She watched Daquan shyly cross the kitchen floor. She worried about the effects the situation would have on his young mind frame. Grandma Mama didn't know how much he had seen, but she knew he had been there. Daquan lifted himself up into the chair while she put his plate in front of him. While she put his plate in front of him. He was so short, he had to sit on his knees to reach table level. She watched him grab his fork and dig in before stopping them. What do we do before we eat, Daquan? What do we do before we eat, Daquan? Daquan sheepishly returned her gaze, then put his hands together and said, God damn it. 1 second. This is crazy, man. Damn. It just has to be noisy around here because this is just the way it is. There's a helicopter hovering over us right now. Just what the fuck I needed. Daquan sheepishly returned her gaze, then put his hands together and said, Amen. And he shoved a fork full of and he shoved a fork and he shoved a fork full of food into his mouth. Grandma Mama chuckled. Boy, that there got to be the shortest prayer I've never heard. He only smiled slightly in response. How are you, baby? Okay, he mumbled. She started to tell him she was going to see his daddy in the county jail. But since Daquan wouldn't be going this time, she thought it better not to. Just then, Melissa stepped into the kitchen. Just then, Melissa stepped into the kitchen, putting her left earring in her ear. At 35, it was hard to tell her age or that she had a 15-year-old son. She had the same complexion as Daryl, but she was short with a thick frame and a small waist. Mama, you ain't even dressed. I told you I got stuff to do, she huffed, picking up one of the biscuits on the stove and buttering it lightly. Child, I know you ain't rushing me, Mama shot right back, but in a relaxed drawl. That's the problem now. Always running around like a chicken with the head cut off. And where's Jerome? She asked, referring to Melissa's son. Where you think? Melissa answered between bites. Still in the bed. Jerome? Jerome! Boy, get your tail in here now, Grandma Mama called out, filling the small apartment with her command. Daquan just took it all in as he ate himself into a full stomach. He knew Jerome was his big cousin, but he was seldom there when Daquan came to visit. Jerome half staggered into the kitchen, one hand in his pants and the other rubbing his eyes. Dang, Grandma, it's summer. What I gotta get up for? His sleepy voice cracked. Don't dang me, boy, Grandma Mama replied, getting up from her seat. Summertime, all the more reason to be up. Need to be working. Least cutting folks' grass instead of laying around here with your lazy self. Jerome had heard this speech 1,000 times, so he yawned, letting the words go through one ear and out the other. Then he noticed Daquan. Sup, little cuz? Heard you staying with us, huh? Welcome to the CP3, Jerome said with a grin, playfully punching Daquan on his arm. CP3 was a street code for... Let me look that word up again to make sure I get it right.
Calliope.
CP3 was street code. CP3 was street code for Calliope Projects, 3rd Ward. Grandma Mama sucked her teeth. This ain't no CP3 or whatever the hell you call it. Don't be teaching that boy no foolishness while I'm gone, because you finna watch him. Jerome sighed hard as he fixed his plate and sat down. Grandma Mama leaned over and kissed Daquan on the cheek. You be good now, Daquan, and Grandma'll be home soon. Yes, ma'am. No sooner were Melissa and Grandma Mama out the door when Jerome pulled out a crinkled pack of Camels and lit up a cigarette. Damn, he cussed when he realized it had a rip in it. He placed his finger over the rip, took another draw, then said, Yeah, I heard Uncle Daryl got him one, as he blew out the smoke. I always knew he was a crazy motherfucker. Daquan dropped his fork. My daddy ain't crazy, and I'm telling Grandma Mama you smoking. Jerome leaned his elbows on the table. And I'ma whoop your little ass. Look here, we're gonna get this straight. Ain't gonna be no telling. Ain't gonna be no telling if me and you gonna be cool. Don't you want to be cool with me? Daquan just looked at him, still mad. One moment. Daquan just looked at him, still mad because he called his daddy because he called his daddy crazy. Dig, little cuz, I ain't mean it like that. I just meant your daddy ain't no punk. You know, he don't take no shit. Ain't nothing wrong with being crazy like that, you dig? Daquan drank his milk. He knew what a punk was. So if being crazy meant Daryl wasn't one, he was okay with that. But like I said, ain't no telling, you dig? If we cool, I'll make sure you have a lot of fun. I'll make sure you have a lot of fun, Jerome offered. Will you take me to the fair? Daquan inquired hopefully. Daquan inquired hopefully. Jerome sat back and chuckled. Fuck the fair. This here's the shit. Fuck the fair. This here's the calliope. Believe me, it's better than the fair. Come on, let's go get dressed and I'll show you. An hour later, Daquan and Jerome stepped out of their building and into the sun. Daquan looked wide-eyed at his new surroundings. If the Nolia had been his world, the Calliope could easily be a child's universe. Sitting back of town, it was the largest housing project in the NO. Rows and rows of brick buildings consisting of hundreds of individual apartments were all evenly spaced and landscaped with a wide stretch of grass parallel to each row of buildings. They were perfect for a child to play football or any out. 1 second. It was the largest housing project. Were all evenly spaced and landscaped with a wide stretch of grass parallel to each row of buildings. They were perfect for a child to play football. Or any outdoor game because the only interference was the trees that lined the sidewalks. Jerome lit another cigarette, then hit play on his boombox. Suddenly, the world came to life for Daquan. Party people, can y'all get funky? So Sonic Force, can y'all get funky? The Zulu Nation, can y'all get funky? Yeah, just hit me. The sounds of Planet Rock blasted from Jerome's box into Daquan's ears and all over his body. It was right then that he first fell in love with hip hop. You like that, huh, little cuz? Jerome. You like that, huh, little cuz? Jerome yelled over the music when he saw the slight, uncoordinated bop of a child in Daquan. Come on! Jerome slow bopped down the sidewalk with Daquan right by his side. He was just the right height to be ear level with the speaker of Jerome's box. Daquan looked around at all the new faces going about their daily business. Women were inside, cleaning up with music of their own blasting through open windows. Proud men were outside, washing and shining their cars, and little kids were running around making games out of anything. When Daquan saw the playground, he tugged at Jerome's pants, pointed to the playground, and shouted, "I want to go over there." Jerome turned the music down a notch. Jerome turned the music down a notch and answered, "Hold on, little cuz, I got you. I just got to handle a little something right now. I just got to handle something right quick." Daquan grudgingly trucked on, ready at an instant to remind Jerome if they got too far from the playground. Jerome went to the next building, cut off the radio, and stepped inside. He knocked on the first door and waited. The sounds of "Love and Happiness" by Al Green could be heard seeping into the hallway. Moments later, a heavy-set woman in pink rollers and an oversized t-shirt came to the door. She looked to be in her 40s, and although Jerome was only 15, she eyed his lanky frame. "Hello, Jerome," she greeted him. "What you doing coming to my house this early?" Sorry, Miss Baylor," Jerome stuttered, because her gaze always made him nervous. "Is Pepper home?" She opened the door a little wider. "If he ain't, he need to be. If he ain't, he need to be." The door was open just wide enough for him to squeeze inside, but just tight enough where he felt a breast brush up against his back. Pepper was his man, but he hated coming to his house because of his mom. He knew what time it was, but he couldn't see fucking his best friend's mother. It fuck, but he couldn't see fucking his best friend's mother, and he didn't know how to tell Pepper, so he tried to avoid her. Daquan followed Jerome in the back to the last door. He knocked. "Yo!" was the response from inside. "It's me, nigga," Jerome replied, then entered the room. Inside the small, cluttered bedroom sat Pepper, dressed only in a pair of cut-off shorts and talking on the phone. Clothes and toys were scattered everywhere, so Jerome cleared a spot on the other bed while Daquan sat on the floor and began playing with a toy fire truck. "So what's up?" "So what's up?" Pepper spoke into the phone. "You gonna give me that pussy or what? A nigga got needs." "Who that?" Jerome asked. "Tamika," Pepper mouthed. "Tamika," Pepper mouthed silently. "Yeah, I'm here," he said into the phone, then sighed hard. "Look, I'll call you back when you get off that bullshit. I'll call you back when you get off that bullshit." Then he hung up. "Nigga, Mika ain't fucking. All she do is dick tease," Jerome told him as if he had firsthand knowledge. "Man, fuck that bitch. Give me a motherfucking cigarette." Jerome tossed him the pack. "You think your mama got some weed, Wody? That shit had me high as a motherfucker." Jerome grinned. Shit. Shit. Pe- shit. Shit. Shit, Pepper toned, blowing out smoke. "We gotta wait till she leaves so I can look. Might be a roach or two." Pepper's eyes fell on Daquan. "Who this is?" "My little cousin Daquan. He live with us now because his pops is in jail." "For what? Killing a nigga because he was banging his old lady?" Pepper nodded. That's some cold shit, man. He ain't do nothing wrong. I'll kill a nigga myself for that shit. I'll kill a nigga myself for that shit. Daquan never looked up from the fire truck, but he heard every word, and what he heard made him more proud of his daddy. Everyone seemed to think what he did was right. They said he wasn't no punk. So in his young mind, it was starting to seem like killing a man wasn't wrong. Pepper, Mama want you, said Pepper's 6-year-old brother Nut as he came into the room. He was half asleep, but when he saw Daquan playing with his toy, he woke up. Give me my truck, he yelled, then swooped down on Daquan, snatching it out of his hand and pushing him. Daquan fell back, then scrambled to his feet and got between Jerome's legs. Pepper chuckled, but Jerome wasn't having it. Quan, you better not let that little nigga handle you like that. Take it back. Daquan didn't move. Man, you couldn't pour your cousin on Nut right now, scared as he is, Pepper commented proudly. Oh, hell no, Jerome spat, turning Daquan to face him. Ain't gonna be no sucker shit. Now, whoop his ass before I whip your ass. He spun Daquan back around and gave him a slight shove from between his legs. Nut was slightly taller, but Daquan was bigger. They eyed each other like two young pits. Give it back, Daquan ordered. It's mine, Nut hissed. Tear his ass up, Nut, Pepper urged, and Nut went into action. He swatted Daquan's face hard. Daquan tried to grab him, but Nut dug his little fingers into his neck, making Daquan howl with pain. Nut fell on top of him with a thud. What's going on in here? His mother's voice boomed from the living room. Pepper, you hear me calling you boy? Jerome broke up the tussle and pulled the crying Daquan off the floor. Cry, baby, teased Nut. Then he ran out of the room. Pepper followed him out to see what his mother wanted. Jerome wiped Daquan's tears with the ends of his shirt. Stop that crying, boy. Stop. You okay. You just can't fight. You okay. You just can't fight. But the important thing is you did fight. Win or lose. Don't let nobody take nothing from you. You hear me? Daquan nodded. You want some candy? Daquan nodded harder. All right, come on. Don't worry. I'm going to teach you how to fight. So next time, you're going to whoop Nut's ass. They went a few buildings down to Miss Betty's, the neighborhood candy lady. She sold all the ice cream and sweets to the kids and most of the numbers and cigarettes to the adults. Jerome bought Daquan a bag of Mary Janes, some bubble gum, and now laters. Miss Betty even gave him a bag of pinwheel cookies because she knew who he was and what had happened, although she didn't say a word. News travels fast in the calliope, right? Is that what it is?
Calliope.
Ah, damn. One second. News travels fast in the calliope, especially with Miss Betty. Daquan Daquan was feeling his Daquan was feeling his cousin more and more. He loved his music, the way he walked, and the cool stuff he did with cigarette smoke. But what made him love him even more was what he said when the police pulled up on a group of older dudes and began to harass them just because they could. Jerome narrowed his eyes through the cigarette smoke and spat, "Fucking police! I hate the motherfuckers!" Daquan didn't know what the word hate meant, but he knew what it felt like. He felt the same way. That statement alone made him love his cousin Jerome. I'm gonna knock out another. Chapter 3. Daquan didn't cry, even though he wanted to. Life was teaching him the uselessness of tears. So at age 5, he learned not to cry, regardless of how he felt inside. This was a dangerous decision because when you don't cry, your heart hardens like stone in a patched, waterless desert. Daquan rode back from visiting his father in the county jail without shedding one tear. He had been with Grandma Mama 2 weeks when he finally he had been with Grandma Mama 2 weeks when he was finally able to see Daryl. He came out in his orange prison jumpsuit, chained and shackled like a beast instead of a man. He had lost weight because of the small portions of food served in county jail, and he had no money to buy anything from commissary. Grandma Mama offered to give him a few dollars, but he knew she needed it more than him, so he declined, not out of pride, but out of priority. He sat behind the 2-inch thick plexiglass and spoke to them on the phone. At first, he made small talk, then his eyes got serious as he spoke to Daquan. "You being good for Mama?" Daryl inquired. Daquan just nodded, holding the phone with both hands. "Boy, speak up." "Yes, Daddy." "Okay," Daryl answered. "Look." His words trailed off because he didn't know what to say. "Daquan, I'm not a bad man. I killed a man, but I'm not sorry. I only regret that it had to happen. But I'm not a bad man. I'm not a good man either. I'm just a man that made a choice. And I want you to understand, it ain't enough to be good, Daquan. Just look at me. I worked. I had a family. I stayed away from foolishness. But look at me." Daryl pinched his eyes to fight. Daryl pinched his eyes to fight the tears that he too was finding useless. What I'm trying to say is, them streets is poison, death waiting around every corner, and you got to be more than good to escape it. Just cause you ain't in them, don't mean you can't be a victim of them. Just cause you ain't in them, don't mean you can't be a victim of them. You hear me? "Yes, Daddy," Daquan said. He would never forget these words, even though he had yet to comprehend them. "You got to be more than good, Daquan. You got to be smart. And not just a school. Be smart, son. Be smart." "I love you, Daddy," Daquan vowed. Daryl smiled with glassy eyes and held his hand up to the window. Daquan did the same, palm to palm, separated by 2 inches of injustice. His hands were a smaller replica of his father's. Once he got home, Daquan went straight to his bed and slept. He dozed all day, waking only to force himself into a deeper sleep. He wanted to disappear. He wanted to hide. But most of all, he didn't want to feel. He didn't want to feel. Then he started to dream. The sounds of booming bass filled the space. It was dark, and he could hear people talking and laughing, but he couldn't see anyone. All he could make out was the boom, the bap, the boom bap. Suddenly, a light came on, and he could see people lying around everywhere, end to end, overlapping or on top of one another. Piles of piles of human bodies in all shapes, ages, and hues. They were all black people, though, from Creole red to Mississippi black, Harlem brown to California caramel, all just lying there. The music was still loud, and so were the voices, but he didn't know where it was. But he didn't know where it was coming from. All of a sudden, he saw her, the little girl with the little girl with the pigtails. "What's wrong with them?" he asked. "Are they asleep?" She shook her head. "No, they're dead." "Where did they die?" Damn it. "Where did they die?" "Around the corner." "Around the corner," she replied in a deadpan monotone. He admired her complexion because it matched his own. He admired her eyes because they reminded him of Macy's when she smiled. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then pointed off to the left. When he looked, he saw a small headstone, but he was too young to decipher the words and but he was too young to decipher the words engraved there. "I can't read," he told her. "What does it say?" "Look again." He inched closer, laughter and voices and pounding drums all around, and the wall of sound assaulting his eardrums. Daquan peered at the letters one by one. Daquan peered at the letters one by one, trying to memorize their shapes and curves. When he turned around, she was gone. As soon as Daquan awoke, he wrote each word down carefully, making sure every curve and line was exactly how he remembered it. When he showed it to Grandma Mama, she was shocked because she knew he couldn't read or write, but the words were clearly in a child's handwriting. "Who wrote this?" she asked. "I did," he replied proudly. She looked at him. "Do you know what it says?" He shook his, he shook his head slowly, never losing eye contact. "Do you want to know?" The next time Daquan saw the word was in Providence Cemetery, right there on the same headstone he had seen in his dream. Grandma Mama took him on a long bus ride out to the old graveyard that same day. Daquan held her hand tightly as they walked along the rows of headstones, small and large. Some were well kept, displaying flowers, newly taken pictures, and even candles, while others were just bare, cold, gray stones. The only flowers on those graves were the occasional yellows of wild dandelions. They approached a headstone that Daquan recognized. It read, Diana Watson, 1976, 1976. Rest in peace. He looked at the words etched into the stone, then up into his grandmother's eyes. With a slight nod of her head, she loosened the grip on his hand. Slowly, tentatively, he walked closer to the stone. Daquan ran his fingers along the letters in her name, and when he was sure, he turned to Grandma Mama for a confirmation. It's the same one, Mama. He was making a statement, but the tone made it come off like a question. Is she here too? Grandma Mama took a few steps forward. Yes, she is, baby, she said calmly. Do you know who she is? That's your sister. He furrowed his brow. Sister? I ain't got no sister. Don't have. Daquan, not don't got. Don't have. Daquan, not don't got. And you did once. Her name was Diana, C-Diana. She spelled the letters out, holding this piece of paper up on the stone so he could see the similarities. It spells Diana. She would have been your big sister. She would have been your big sister. Daquan looked at the grave as Grandma Mama continued. Your mama was bad off on that stuff. Your mama was bad off on that stuff. Drugs. Even when she got pregnant, she kept right on with her wicked ways. Your daddy tried, but he couldn't stop her until Diana was born and died on the same day. Died? Died? Daquan questioned. I thought when people died, they got their wings and went away. Grandma Mama chuckled. Not everyone, child, and even the ones that do, sometimes they come back and see folks. Sometimes they come back and see folks. Why? She shrugged. They miss them, I reckon. They miss them, I reckon. Then sometimes they come back to look out for them, like a guardian angel. Her smile warmed Daquan and told him everything was okay. He looked at the headstone again. Diana, he said, speaking her name for the first time. Daquan, Grandma Mama said, turning him to face her. Listen to me, baby, like you never listened before. Them drugs is bad, very bad. They took your sister, your mama, and your daddy, my son, from you. The tears rolled down her cheeks. And don't you ever forget, you hear? Never. Daquan nodded his head, his young brain soaking in more words than he didn't yet understand, but he was sure he'd never forget. A few weeks later, Daryl was given a life sentence. Grandma, Mama, and Melissa cried in the courtroom like he had died. Even Jerome shed a tear, but Daquan remained dry-eyed as he watched the police take his daddy away for the second time. He wished all the police would die right there, but not get their wings. He vowed to himself to get Daryl out. He vowed to himself to get Daryl out one day so they could be a family again. After the trial, Daquan sat on the porch watching the people move to and fro I swear this word is. Daquan sat on the porch, watching the people move to and fro through the patio, through the calliope, through the calliope, through the calliope. Through the calliope. All he could think of was his daddy and how to get him out. Jerome came outside, blasting Run DMC's 30 Days, but even the music couldn't snap Daquan out of his zone. Jerome shut the radio off, sat down next to Daquan and asked, "What's that? What's happening, little Wody?" Daquan just shrugged. Jerome knew his little cousin was taking his daddy's ordeal hard, and he hated it for him, especially being so young. "Little Wody, you know what a soldier is?" "Like in the army," Daquan replied. "Nah, nigga, fuck the army. I'm talking about real soldiers. Niggas in these streets going to war a day with the police. Being broke, being mad with themselves too." Jerome spat. Jerome spat, looking out at all the people. To him, they scurried like roaches in a roach motel, either trying to get high, trying to get by, or trying to get over so the hood didn't take him under. He just shook his head in disgust. He just shook his head in disgust. Another train. Lil cuz, niggas die a Lil cuz, niggas die a day. Go to jail a day too. One day it could be me, one day it could be you. But we got to stand up like your daddy did. I know you miss him, but he did what he had to do. That's a soldier, little cuz. Your daddy is a soldier. Jerome lit a cigarette, then checked his watch. You want to go to Miss Betty's, for? You want to go to Miss Betty's real quick before I go? I'll buy you some cookies, okay? Daquan agreed, but not because of the cookies. He just wanted to be with Jerome. As they approached Miss Betty's building, they saw Pepper coming up the sidewalk with Nut. As soon as Daquan saw Nut, his eyes locked on him, remembering when he called him a crybaby. Jerome saw Daquan looking at Nut and smiled. "There you go, little cuz. You ready to tear his ass up?" The look on Daquan's face said it all. When they got close enough, Jerome said to Pepper, "Nigga, bag of weed, Saquon, tear Nut ass up." Pepper, an avid gambler and an all-around wild nigga, had no problem accepting the challenge. "Nut, you want some ice cream? Beat him up, and I'll get you 2 popsicles." That's all Nut had to hear. He looked at Daquan and ran at him, ready to grab him and push him to the ground. But Daquan had other plans. Jerome had been teaching him how to punch, not wild like a windmill, but straight, calculated blows. When Nut ran up, flailing his arms, Daquan shot out 2 clean jabs that caught him in his chin and shoulder. Nut managed to scratch Daquan across the face, but Daquan remained unfazed. And hit him again, this time dead in the nose. "Oh, hell no, nigga!" Pepper exclaimed. "You been teaching that little nigga." Jerome laughed. "A bet's a bet, y'all." An older teenage chick came by shouting, Y'all niggas is crazy. Stop them boys from fighting. Pepper hollered back. The CP3 raised soldiers, bitch. The way that nigga be whipping your ass. The way that nigga be whooping your ass, somebody should have trained you. Pepper saw Daquan on top of a crying Nut, punching his little heart out, and commanded, Nut, get your ass up. Jerome picked Daquan up by his belt loop, then set him on his feet. That's enough, Lil Wody. He won't be bothering you no more. He won't be bothering you no more. Daquan stood, huffing and puffing as Nut bawled like a baby. I'ma tell my mama, he threatened. Daquan felt like a burden had been lifted from his back, like he could breathe. With every punch thrown or taken, all the frustrations he didn't have the words to describe were released and communicated to the world, represented by Nut's little body. The cookies Jerome bought him didn't even matter because he had found something sweeter, his outlet. When Jerome brought him through the door, Grandma Mama took one look at Daquan's reddened and slightly bruised face and asked, Jerome, what happened to that baby? Jerome kissed her on the cheek, one foot out the door, and replied, He okay, Mama. He had a little accident on the playground. See you later. Grandma Mama knew he was lying. Anyone with eyes could see that Daquan had been fighting. The fighting wasn't a problem. She knew boys would be boys. Her concern was Jerome. Grandma Mama didn't like the man he was becoming, and she knew without another male figure around, Daquan would follow him. She just prayed that Jerome wouldn't lead him the wrong way. Okay, I think I could put a stop to this here. In the meantime, in between time. All right, so as you can see, I started to read Death Around the Corner. CP3, the Calliope. All right, I got to learn that, the Calliope. You know what I mean? Big shout to the New Orleans, Nolia. If you know, you know. All right, then. Let me just adjust this here. One thing around the corner. I see around the corner. All right. Let me turn on this fan for a little while, all right? And hang out with me for a little while, because I'm going to spit a quick verse about a place I used to work at, or, you know. So bear with me, because I got it all in my head. Give me a couple seconds, y'all, please. Thanks. Be right back. All right, y'all, I'm back. Yeah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the first volume of Around the Corner by C. Miller. All right, we'll get back to that very soon, I promise. In the meantime, in between time, let me just, all right, save project. Open something new. Get rid of that and open this. All right. Bear with me as I spit some lyrics. What up, y'all? Just sitting here thinking back to a little while ago when I recorded a podcast and reminiscing about my very first time in the club back in 1987. To be honest, though, that wasn't my very first time inside a club. I remember years ago, like 45 years ago, might have been the first time I've ever been in a club. And I somehow remember this vividly. It was this place, some sort of walk up, right? And I remember the looks of it. The dance floor was this huge thing. Like, I didn't know, it was definitely a circular shape, but you could tell like it was many a side, right? And I got the nerve to be like 5, 6 years old, having the nerve to remember all this. I remember the location as well. I remember we were under the train line, the number one train, and and we was in this place located on 207th Street, and I think that's 12th Avenue, or is that 10th Avenue? I think it's 10th Avenue. Okay. That is my very first time I've ever been inside a club. Because the very next time I've ever been in a club, it reminds me of that very aesthetic. Like the huge dance floor, big round thing, just a bunch of dance floor, this huge space. You know what I mean? And I think they had checkerboard floors, giving me that checkerboard vibe, right? And actually, some parts of that dance floor also gave me Saturday Night Fever's vibes. It gave me Saturday Night Fever vibes, with the multicolored patterns on the floor in that area. I remember this back in 1987 in a club in the Bronx. I remember because me and the boys took the BX55 over there. there goes a line. Only Bronx, if you're from the Bronx, you know. All right. But yeah, we went to this club. I think it used to be called the Golden Lady. That was like a little strip club, and also doubled as a little space area where you did your thing, and that's where we went. And all I could remember is the checkered board floor in there, and you know, again, I also remember, you know, I didn't officially go there. I snuck in there simply because I was cool with the DJ. And, you know, I also lent a little help carrying records, a crate of vinyl records is some heavy shit. And I was very happy to help him from his car to the club with crates and crates and crates of records. And I remember him, asking me to take over the Wheels of Steel for him because, at the time I used to know how to DJ myself. And I came across this one record. Pick it up. Had a red label on it, white lettering. Tracks Records, it says. And I'm looking at the artist and it says Marshall Jefferson. Move Your Body. I was curious. I was curious because we was busy playing, you know, hold on, we was playing funk music, and things like that. But when I saw this record and you could tell it was a brand new record, like you could tell the wrapping on the cover of the jacket cover, right? It was still brand new, $3.99 sticker on it. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm playing this. I let the other record fade out, and I just introduced the record by just letting it play on its own, bro. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Gotta have house music, move your body. Now, fast forward to the days I became a juvenile delinquent. Let's just say what it is. It was what it was. And I ended up in a group home in 1988, all the way out in Long Island, Dix Hills. They called the facility Brentwood, but it wasn't in Brentwood. It was deeper than Brentwood. You had to go deeper into the woods to go into, excuse me, another train. God damn it. So yeah, like I was saying, you had to go deeper into the woods to get to where you had to go deeper into them woods to get to where I was staying at, right? And I just happened to be, a very smart kid. I mean, it was what it was. I was not a nerd, but I was cool enough to be that nerd and not have nobody tell me shit, if that makes any kind of sense. Because I was dressed fly, you know what I mean? Gap, polo, you name it, I had it. And I was going back and forth off grounds to school, half Hollow Hills, back in those days, earning mine. And, if you racked up a certain amount of points in the group home, then you were offered a home visit. Now, I done started school in August sometime, and I gotta make this quick because battery's about to waste on me. But hey, what's wild about that, I earned my keep and I earned enough points, and a lot of us, you know, made our minimum to earn ourselves a home visit for the weekend back in 1988. I done started school back in August, did my thing. The fact that I was doing well in school was earning me my points, right? And so the day came, the weekend came, should I say, the Friday in that September came, and I was so happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm going on my first visit. I'm going back to Harlem, go see my mama, see my brothers, whatever. Have myself a great old time, you know. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. When my dad came and got me, he was real kind and said, "Hey, who's going to Manhattan?" A couple kids raised their hands. All right, y'all riding with me. So there we were, packing our bags in the back, in the what the hell? Packing our shit in the trunk, packing all our bags in the trunk, nice and neat. Filled the car up, you know. And me, I'm always making tapes inside the group home. Put on a fresh tape, 1988 hip hop. You can already imagine what I was playing. Slick Rick, Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, Run DMC, Together Forever album, etc., etc., etc. So when we got to Manhattan, everybody got dropped off. Dad showed me love, you know what I mean? Did the McDonald's thing with me, showed me a damn good time for earning mine. And he was real proud of his son, coming home, doing his thing. I come to my mom's house, there she was, jolly old self. You know what I'm saying? Room was nice and spanking. I love the way it was looking. But you know how you haven't been in a place you haven't been in a very long time, and your old place, your own place looks mad weird to you. Well, that's what happened. And later on that day, that first day, I arrived back to 164. I see my old crew in front of the building across the street from my building. I used to live on 562, and my people always hung in front of 559, directly across the street. They saw me. I seen them. Yo! All the noise we were making together. We was giving each other's pounds, hugs, whatever. There we were rapping, singing, I'm beatboxing, I'm doing all of this, and we were having mad fun, mad fun, smoking mad weed in that hallway, man, I'm telling you. And one of them was like, yo, we're going to 54 tonight. 54? What? What up? I want to come with. I said, all right, you got to have a little money, though, because, you know what I mean? We ain't going down there slouching. And I'm saying, man, I'm thinking about the little pocket change I had, and I was ready to go. Yo, I'm going. Matter of fact, let me go get fresh right now. We leaving tonight, right? Yeah, man, we leaving tonight. Cool. So I get dressed, ready to go. I had on a button-up shirt, right? A polo button-up shirt. And I had a cashmere a nice cashmere sweater, right? I had on these jeans that matched the cashmere sweater, and I had a dope, fresh pair of Uptowns, right? Those that know. Back in 88, rocking it, looking fly as fuck. My hair teased to the sky and in a high top full of curls, back when I still had hair, you know what I mean? And, right, we had the whole crew. We went down to Studio 54. We took the train down there. I remember taking the A train, right? And we got off at 50th Street and walked them couple blocks, made the line. The line wasn't that big, thankfully. We went there early. We was going in Studio 54. Nothing was going to stop us from getting in there. So there we were, waiting online. Everybody going in, no problem. And it wasn't like they were asking anybody for ID. Not at that time. And back then, the admittance, the price to get in was $10. Only $10. I had about $100 in my pocket. $10? Okay. Weren't asking for ID. Wasn't looking at me too tough in my grill. Like if I was too young to come in. Okay. Pay my $10. Wait, no. Before I paid my $10, I had some 7-foot bouncer, right? Because these dudes was huge. I was like only 6 foot. I was only making 6 foot at 15 years old, right? In 88. There I was, 15 years old, going in, about to get searched by this giant. Tap me up, no problem, right? So I goes inside the place, paying my $10 at the window. I go inside. Big old vestibule type situation that leads you into the front area, to the grand ballroom, if you will. Oh my God, Studio 54, the official first time I've ever set foot in a club, the official first time. I didn't go in there sneaking in and helping out DJs being a little gopher. No, I was going in this time with my crew having the damnedest fun. And, this was the type of timing that, if you were going to the club back then, you had to like freestyle music. I'll prove it to you. You wasn't going to no China Club, Palladium, Tunnel, anywhere. You wasn't hitting that limelight. You wasn't going anywhere without hearing club music. And club music consisted of that electro funk, that old pre-techno. Techno wasn't even invented yet. But we was playing house music. We was playing freestyle music to mix in with the house, same kind of speed, if you will, you know. And and freestyle was basically planet rock being played all over. They would use that same speed and sound, and you would have to put up with a good amount of that before they put on hip hop. Now we were in there mad early, like 9 o'clock or some shit like that. So they were playing nothing but freestyle music. We had to eat it up. We had to like that. We had to be out there and like it. I was in my fresh gear. I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? And there goes the older, tough looking face dudes in my crew going to the bar, getting drinks on and shit. And none of these bartenders were asking them for ID whatsoever. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't need to do all that. You know what I mean? And I was already high from the dope ass weed we were smoking on the block. Mind you, 164th and Broadway, we had the haze. You know what I'm saying? That purple. What? I'm feeling all royally, I'm feeling all royal in there and feeling real good and shit. And finally, they start playing a little hip hop. Finally, they start playing a little hip hop. And finally, they start playing a little hip hop. And the first record they played was Big Daddy Kane's Ain't No Half Steppin'. Wow. Let me tell you, the little 1-2 step I learned in that group home, you best believe I did it. And then I seen like this whole crew. Now, they might have been the low lives, but I'm not sure. And I'm not going to officialize that. But these guys were just as fresh as me, if not fresher. Polo, all you see is polo lettering, the horse. You see the scribble. Remember the scribble polo joints? The sweaters with the collars and the what? And they were all doing that dance, and they were doing it to the Big Daddy Kane record, man. And then, the DJ was playing all that old school shit. PSK making that green. People always ask, what the hell does that mean? And man, shoot. I think the DJ was playing a little ultramagnetic too. 88, man, I'm telling you. Slick Rick, he was definitely playing that. I remember him playing that Public Enemy record, Rebel Without a Cause. Oh my God, bro. All right. And this just happened to be the weekend of September the 10th going into September 11th. Fast forward from 1988 to 2001. I was working with my people over at Columbia University. Yeah, I just happened to be an alumni. Yeah, I did a stint and a half in there. That's all I did. But because I was a knucklehead, and what was funny about that? I happened to be the scholar going to Columbia University due to a program that I did back in '88, being I was going to Half Hollow Hills. scoring the highest on tests. They put me in this little program where, all I had to do was continue to do good in school and then graduate, and all of that. And I did my thing. Even though they wouldn't let me finish high school, I did the GED thing. But Columbia was nonetheless impressed with my performances and welcomed the brother onto their campus. But then I fucked that up. But you see, that's neither here or there. I'm back at the campus working. I'm not a student anymore. I'm working instead. And we was working one particular, we was working this, what you call that, frat house. We work in a frat house, right? And we were floor installers, and we had a contract for the entire building. We were good, right? And working every day, making coin, right? And them guys was I love my guys, man. Big shout to them, and one of the weekends I had off, I was invited by a special young lady, right, to go to a club. I wasn't really in the mood because you know how you work a whole week, and I busted out a good month by then, and my bones were weary. But this woman, this lady, this gorgeous girl was undeniably pretty. I gotta say, man, she was a fox, and straight invited me. Oh, come on, come with me to a club and stuff, man. She wanted me to take her out. I did, However, her mom came along. I wanted to go early. You see, I adopted the fact that going to the club early will get you right in, no problems. You ain't got to wait on a long ass line, nothing like that. And that's what I wanted to do. But you see, Mom Duke insisted on taking her sweet time. Mind you, her daughter and myself were ready to go. Me, I had on my ensemble. This girl hair was looking very sexy. Everything just about painted on. But Mom Duke had to take 2 years for herself to look fly. And to her credit, she had this Jennifer Lewis thing going on about her. I can't lie. Definitely smackaroo. Definitely tantalizing. I ain't gonna lie. So, mother, daughter, big man, on our way to a club downtown in the 40s or 50s, I forget where. And unfortunately, Mom Duke took just too fucking long. So there we were, waiting on a line that exceeded around the corner, down the block. So the waiting on that line was at least 1 hour. So there we were on that line, hoping to make it to the window before a certain time. But that was not to happen. Because by the time I finally got to the fucking front, okay, the ladies, they were searched right away and let right in, but they had to wait for me to come in, and I got searched, and the fucking bouncer, goddamn it, bro, like he enjoyed his job too much, man. He was searching me, he feeling me, like, yo, he's feeling me. He's not tapping me, he's not frisking me, he's feeling me. He's doing all this, he's doing all that. And then by the time he goes down to my groin area, he's got his whole hand on my fucking package, bro. I was not appreciating this shit. And then he's going inside my pants. I'm like, yo, can you hurry this up, please? Yeah, man, I gotta do my job. All right, could you finish it, cuz, please? I'm getting uncomfortable here. I'm thinking he's about to go inside my asshole with the way he's fucking doing this shit. And then finally he stops. Thank God he didn't go for my fucking asshole. But by the time I made it to the window with my two ladies in tow, we all had to pay full fucking price. See, if we would have made it there before 12, we would have got in for free. But that was not to be, obviously. So, paid us, I paid admission, all of our admission. Apparently that impressed the young ladies somewhat, but I didn't care. I just wanted to go in. And the first thing I did was go and get myself a drink and offer the ladies a drink as well. To which the young lady declined. But Mom Duke, hell yeah, she said. So I said, whatever you want, go ahead, on me. She got what she got. I think she got herself a Long Island iced tea. Boom, I got what she got, you know what I mean? And bing, a toast. Gave the bartender a $5 tip. The drink back then was $5. Was it? Yeah, $5. And then I gave her, $10 bill. Hold that. That's you. And there I was holding on to that drink all night. I done spent fucking $100 already. Already getting in the fucking club and paying for the drink and paying for the drinks. So that was $100 less. Well, actually a little more than $100. But there I was with the young lady. It was playing some shit. All right, decent enough music. And I did my thing, dancing with her and all of that there. But she was the type, after, grinding on the dance floor with me on some sexy shit, because that's what you do. You go to the club, you don't go to dance. Oh, well, you go to dance, but you like somebody good enough, they're going to let you fuck them with their clothes on. That's all you see all over the fucking dance floor is people fucking with their fucking clothes on, especially when they're playing reggae. Now, am I wrong? I'm not wrong. Because that's exactly what me and this young lady did all night long. So she's all worked up and she finally gets a drink. She paid on it and all that. I left her alone. She sipped on her shit. I got myself another drink, clicked glasses with her, and kept tearing up the dance floor. Then later on, we drifted apart. She started dancing with some men over there, and I started dancing with some ladies over here. All right? So all in all, it was a very good time. Mom Duke, she was sitting on the couch, watching everybody, looking all debonair, legs crossed, looking all fly. Jennifer Lewis, I'm telling you, like on some sexy old woman shit. Like, what? Yeah, she old, but I fucked the shit out of her type shit, But yeah, all in all, we all had ourselves a good time. On my way out of the club, I see the guy that basically felt me up. He gives me a gentle nod. I nod back to him and I wave at the rest of the bouncers. They must know I bounce or used to bounce, whatever the case may be. So I salute them as they saluted me, as me and the ladies left the club, along with everybody else that are exiting the club at 4 that morning. Well, a little after 4. Go back uptown. And this is like the same weekend, as September 10th, September 11th. Monday was September 10th. Busted that out. Then came September 11th. We all know what happened that day. So I don't need to tell that story. But as I was leaving my block, beautiful Tuesday morning, I remember it was so sunny. The skies were so blue that day. And there I was on my way to work, about to take the 2 train, going up the stairs, and I look inside the corner store because you got no choice but to look in it as you're going up the stairs. It's just a normal thing to do. Yet when I look inside, one of the Arabs that was in there gave me this weird look. I thought nothing of it at the time as I was going up the stairs. When I finished climbing the last stair, that's when the train finally, it was rolling into. When I finally made the last stair, when I finally made the last stair, that's when the train was pulling in to the station. I take the 2 train, transfer to the 1 train, go uptown on that, and get off at 116th on Columbia grounds. My partner that was with me usually calls his grandmother before he starts his day at work. That's his thing. Meanwhile, I'm sipping my coffee and I'm seeing my guy look astonished for some reason. And he turns around with this shocked, pained look on his face. And he's like, yo, my grandmother just told me some ill shit. Silently, I look at him, but with my face, I'm like, what? I didn't even have to say it. I just gave him that grill like, the fuck? So he's on his phone. He's on the phone. He's listening to his grandmother talking. She's explaining how a fucking plane crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. Upon listening to this, I'm like, what the fuck? It didn't hit me yet. We go into the fraternity, right? Into the fraternity house. And there goes my guys surrounding the television. And they were watching it live. And the words live appeared on the screen. You could just about tune into every channel. The same scene was on the screen. The boys inside the frat house, me and my partner, were all staring at this tube. Then suddenly, we seen the next plane hit the World Trade Center in real time. The screams, the yelling, the initial horrific gasp that came out of each and every one of us as the plane hit the building. We were all astonished, man. Needless to say, we weren't working that day, right? All metropolitan buses and trains were canceled, literally canceled. There was nothing running in Manhattan. And I don't know, I think, the whole city was trying to figure out what to do after seeing the shit. Everyone saw it. Oh, the people downtown, bro. Oh my God, bro. I couldn't possibly imagine what those poor people had went through. And again, I promise not to go there, but I have to segue using this to drive this story a little more forward. And let me just say, we were in Harlem, so there we were, me, my partner, folks heading uptown were all walking, right? And somehow we made it to the Willis Avenue Bridge. That's not before my partner went to the liquor store right there on 126 in Amsterdam. We copped some shit. Hell yeah, we were getting drunk. We didn't give a fuck. We had to make sense of what the fuck just happened. Okay. And there we were walking on 126, not 125th, but 126 behind the Apollo Theater and all of that other good shit. Right? Walking that because we knew 125th was going to be a barrage of people going elsewhere, wherever, and there was no buses, no trains to speak of. At least not yet. So we walking east. And we made it to the Willis Avenue Bridge and crossed that. Now, there were some guards trying to stop people from entering the bridge, but me and my guy went on the bridge a totally other way where no one saw us do it. And we just hit this ramp, kept on going on the ramp towards the Bronx. No one saw us do it. We kept it moving. A couple of folks saw what we did and saw people weren't going to be let on the bridge in one way. So they saw the way we did it and followed us. Right? So there we were crossing the bridge into the Bronx, ending up on Willis Avenue. And I swear to God, we was at this position where you could see into downtown, and me and my partner saw the billow of smoke arising from that area. Ominously, you dig? We looked at that for like maybe a minute and turned around and kept it moving uptown. We kept walking, we kept walking, we kept walking. Entering 138, we walked all the way to 149th. And as we approached 149th, that's when you saw a smattering of some buses, right? So, okay, thankfully, we got some metro movement here. The trains weren't running yet, but I encountered a cop, right? And he was by himself, right? There was, cop cars, about, but I seen this one particular cop who happened to see me and my partner taking a swig of our liquor. Just like I said, we were going to get drunk. We didn't know what we had to do to get drunk, but we were getting drunk, right? Fuck that, we had to. And this cop saw us drinking, and as I finished my swig, I looked at the cop, he looked at me. I passed him my drink. He all in uniform and shit. He didn't care. Took the swig. The pain in his eyes made me cry along with him. We even embraced. My partner was bugging. He never thought he'd see no shit like that. But yeah, there we were. Tough ass hug too. Gorilla padding and shit. Big old hug and shit. Yeah, man. All the despair and destruction. It was good to see the camaraderie, the people caring for each other, man. Oh, man. What an awesome day, even though it was such a sad day at the same time, man. I'm not going to even go into the rest of what I saw that very day. We all did. I'm not about to put us through that again. We all know what happened that day. 9/11. 9/11 was a special time because, again, that was around the time when I first visited a beautiful club like Studio 54. And upon seeing super heavyweights, because me at the time, I was doing the bodybuilding thing, and I was definitely inspired to become somewhat of a grandstanding situation like that. I wanted to bounce, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, y'all. Forgive me for going all over the place. It gets hard to remain even keel when you thinking back to something like this. So I apologize. Charles Dickens said it best. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Forgive me, folks, man. I got mad emotional and shit. And I hope not too much of it came out on the microphone. But come on, it's that PTSD, bro. Like the shit happens, bro, and I lose it, man. I start crying and shit. It's normal, man. It's normal what PTSD sufferers go through, man. Bro, that's it, man. That's all it is, bro. Illinois Banks, Midwest in the house. This was a great book. Thank you for tuning in, Tifa, thank you. Walking 15 Lifer, thank you, everyone, for joining in tonight. I'm going to have to cut this short because my battery is finally low and I don't want it to ruin the program. So let me just say my goodbyes now. Folks, please go to Spotify right now and look up The Art of Bounce. And you guys go ahead and give me 5 stars. Any little bit helps. Sadly, I lost my musical YouTube channel. So I'm gonna need y'all help to somehow make that up. There goes that low battery prompt again. I gotta go. Folks, just know, all right? Know that I love you all. I like cooked food. Please tune in to the United Ronin Networks, right? Like, share, subscribe, join, and don't forget to go to The Art of Bounce on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and follow today and leave that 5-star. It always helps. Tune in today because I always have something to say. All right, fellow sexy people, stay sexy. It becomes you. Take care.